I grew up on a lobster wharf on the coast of Maine. Some of my earliest memories are of my brother and I paddling around the harbor in our grandfather's rowboat, getting stuck in mudflats while searching for horseshoe crabs, and tracking the summertime mackerel migration with our fishing poles. Now, I'm a fourth-generation member of a lobster fishing family, but somehow I did not inherit sea legs, and I definitely do not share my family's tolerance for the smell of bait. While my older brother eagerly joined our father on his lobster boat, I usually opted to stay on land and watch the working waterfront in action. Over barrels of salted herring and crates of lobster, I noticed fishers exchanging stories, insights, and predictions about the fishery. My experiences on the wharf taught me that fishers have an incredible ecological intuition. To be successful, they need to predict where lobsters are. But the tricky thing is that lobsters move. Each summer, they migrate from the deep waters of the Gulf of Maine to shallow habitats near the shore. And, like the rest of us, fishers cannot tell what is happening at the bottom of the ocean just by looking at surface waters. So, they pay close attention to the weather. They weave together shared community insights with personal experiences, and they call on wisdom from the generations that came before them. When they do this, fishers increase their chances of setting traps in areas where they will catch lobsters. You see, in my coastal working waterfront community, knowledge is based upon observation, stored in stories, and shared across generations. Lobster fishers are scientists trained in the world. Growing up in this context taught me to view community-level knowledge as deeply scientific. But as I got older, I learned that not everyone sees it this way. I still remember a high school teacher telling me that I could not cite my grandfather's wisdom in a research paper. He told me it didn't qualify as a reliable source for academic research, and moreover, it did not adhere to proper MLA guidelines. And sure, he was right about the citation format, but his feedback spoke to a deeper complication. In our usual way of thinking, wisdom produced at the level where life is lived does not count as reliable scientific evidence. That moment stuck with me because it contradicted something I know to be true, that local knowledge is relevant and trustworthy. It led me to wonder, why do we overlook the insights of people who live closest to nature? And what do we lose by doing so? As we face climate change, I believe that this divide between local knowledge and formal science is holding us back. After all, fishers and scientists aren't so different. They are both keen observers who test hypotheses, counsel with their peers, and share their findings with their communities. The difference is how they do it. Science relies on laboratories, calibrated instruments, and peer-reviewed journals. Fishers rely on experience, intuition, and storytelling. But the outcomes are similar. Both create valuable knowledge that helps us understand nature and how it is changing. And this goes beyond the knowledge of lobster fishers. Across the world, indigenous peoples and local communities hold incredibly nuanced insights about their environments. Yet these perspectives are often overlooked or outright ignored in mainstream science and decision-making. This is not just a semantic difference. It's a missed opportunity. And in our efforts to address climate change, that's a mistake we simply cannot afford. Now, don't get me wrong. Science is reliable and important, but it does not have to be our only frame of reference. A single perspective never tells the whole story. Weaving together distinct approaches may provide new insights that help us tackle pressing planetary challenges. And I say this because we are living in an era of urgency. Human-induced climate change is causing environmental conditions that we've never experienced, bringing the sustainability of our ways of life into question. Let me tell you what's happening in Maine. Since the 1980s, the Gulf of Maine has warmed faster than 98% of the world's oceans. Summertime conditions now start around a month earlier and end around a month later than they used to. These changes impact the seasonal behaviors of lobsters and alter the fishing season. Lobster fishers rely on multi-generational insights from their community to understand the past, but their knowledge is becoming less reliable in helping them predict future conditions as our climate moves further away from the patterns we have learned to expect. At the same time, scientists face a different challenge: making sense of rapid, unpredictable changes with incomplete data about the marine environment. But what if these two groups work together? From my perspective, these are compatible problems. Fishers could share their knowledge to help scientists understand ecological trends, increasing the accuracy of their models. In turn, scientists can use these tools to make predictions about the future, helping fishers adapt to a changing climate. By building bridges between the divided worlds of local knowledge and science, we can transform uncertainty into understanding, and understanding into action. To accomplish this, we need a new way of thinking. And today, I'd like to share 3 reasons why we must change our current approach. Number 1, science is slow. It takes a long time for a research project to collect data, analyze trends, and publish findings. And even then, the results only offer a partial understanding of the problem. Fishers, on the other hand, spend their lives on the water, immersed in a research environment. They know the environment like the back of their hands, and they can detect subtle changes that could take years for researchers to notice. This allows them to act as an early warning system for climate impacts. And they're already doing this. Fishers in the Gulf of Maine were the first to notice that warmer years brought black sea bass to their fishing grounds. This is a species that is usually found much further south. Scientific surveys did not capture this range expansion, and without the fishers' early observations, it likely would have gone unnoticed by scientists until it had already created significant ecological and economic impacts. Lived experience fills gaps that traditional research methods might overlook. Though, yes, it is true that science is slow, but local knowledge can guide scientific inquiry and accelerate discovery. The second reason to strengthen the connection between science and society is that effective climate adaptation requires trust. Adapting to climate change is about more than protecting industries and ecosystems. It's about safeguarding entire ways of life. For many fishers, their identity, culture, and livelihood are intertwined with the health of the ocean. They witnessed the environment change over generations, and they found ways to adapt over time. But when they look to the future, it's murky and uncertain. Recently, a lobster fisher told me that he is lucky to have other skills because, and I quote, "If the lobster fishery goes away, when it goes away, I'll still be able to make a living." Rapid ecological changes, rising costs, and a lack of involvement in decision-making make lobster fishers feel like their way of life may vanish altogether. And here lies the challenge. Adapting to climate change is possible, but effectively putting adaptation strategies into practice requires trust and meaningful partnerships between scientists and people on the ground and fishers as well. Imagine that your livelihood is dependent on the marine environment and you learn that the temperature in the Gulf of Maine is warming faster than 98% of the world's oceans. Do you hear the alarm bell? This is certainly a compelling fact, but for a fisher, it's difficult to translate into actionable steps. What does it mean for the traps they'll set tomorrow, or for the way of life they hope to pass on to their children? A lack of translation between scientific findings and life on the ground creates confusion, feelings of vulnerability, and disempowerment. And it contributes to a cycle of distrust, leading to missed opportunities for collaboration and, ultimately, slower adaptation. Building trust between scientists and fishers can change this and help them see each other as partners, not opposing forces. Trust fosters collaboration. The third and final reason for bringing local knowledge and science together is that collaboration works. It makes science and environmental management better, but effective collaboration requires meaningful participation. A great example of this started nearly a century ago when Maine's lobster fishers began notching the tails of egg-bearing lobsters to protect them from being harvested. This simple act was championed by fishers who were concerned about the long-term sustainability of the industry. Eventually, the tail notching practice became a state law, and it has made the lobster fishery more resilient to a changing ocean. According to scientific models, tail notching helped double the lobster population in the Gulf of Maine during a period of dramatic increase in ocean temperatures. Similar conservation tactics were not adopted in southern New England, and this is one of the reasons why scientists believe that its lobster fishery collapsed. When fishers are empowered to act on their insights and included in decision-making, they contribute to strategies that protect their way of life. Weaving insights from multiple knowledge systems together allows us to challenge our assumptions. And this helps us discover new solutions that we could not achieve through just one way of thinking. These three reasons, the slow pace of science, the need for trust, and the benefits of collaboration, illustrate why we must value and honor the contributions from local observation. And here's the truth. Climate change is not just a technological or scientific challenge. It's a human one. That means that adapting to it requires us to think not just with data and models, but with stories and emotions, the parts that make us human. Fishers, farmers, and other environmental stewards are experiencing climate change firsthand. But so are each of you. Think about your own life. Have you noticed fewer bees in your garden, changing in the timing of the seasons? What about more severe weather? We are all witnessing changes to our environments on a local scale, but usually our insights do not go anywhere. Imagine a world in which your everyday observations can have a significant impact on scientific knowledge. Luckily, you don't just have to imagine it. There's a global movement that is weaving together local observation with science and decision-making. It's called community science, and it needs all of us. Community science projects are a step towards making inclusive knowledge production a cultural norm. They encompass a variety of methodologies, platforms, and practices, but at its core, community science is a collaboration between people like you, first-hand observers of the world, and those who need data to conduct research and solve problems. Participating is easier than you may think. If you have a smartphone, all you have to do is download an app. One of my favorites is called iNaturalist, a platform that lets anyone contribute biodiversity observations to a global database. You simply take a photo of the insects, plants, and animals you encounter, which, if you're anything like me, you do anyways, and upload them to the app. Once your submissions are identified by other volunteers, they can be considered research-grade material fit for scientific publication. Although this process seems simple, the impact is remarkable. With iNaturalist data, we've monitored the spread of invasive plants, kept track of endangered animals, and even discovered new species. iNaturalist has over 3 million users across the world, and together they've contributed more than 150 million biodiversity observations. If a scientist tried to achieve a database of this scale alone, it would take them 1,500 observations a day for 274 years. This is the power of collaboration on full display. Now, I recognize that not everyone wants to spend their time taking pictures of bugs, and that's okay. This is the beauty of community science. There's a place for everyone. From photographing your backyard biodiversity to collecting microplastics, measuring beach erosion, recording frog sounds, and even cloud spotting on Mars, each of us can find a project that aligns with our interests. When we treat science as an everyday practice that is open to everyone, it creates a new narrative around knowledge production, one that holds collaboration and diversity as essential components. Just like lobster fishers chatting on the docks, sharing your observations can deepen our collective understanding, guide our actions, and help us adapt to change. As Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we use to create them. Climate change is the defining challenge of our time, and it's going to take all of us, scientists, fishers, and everyone here in this room, working together to adapt to it. By building bridges between local knowledge and science, we can achieve a more resilient, sustainable, and collaborative future. I hope you will join me in creating a new understanding of knowledge that is in service to society. Thank you.